నమస్తే సాక్షి తెలుగు ప్రజల మనసాక్షి స్పెషల్ ఇమిగ్రేషన్ షోకి స్వాగతం సుస్వాగతం. Today we are back with our expert attorney Bhanu B. Lindra garu, BBA Law Group is 17 years of experience in law offices. So if you have any questions regarding immigration, feel free to call us. Our attorney will glad to answer your questions. So before we begin the show, please note that the information provided on the show not a legal advice, it's just for information purpose only. So Sakshi TV or its agents will not be responsible for this. If you need any specific legal advice, please contact the attorney directly. So without any further delay, show start చేద్దామా? Yes, let's welcome Bhanu garu. Hello Bhanu garu, good evening Ani.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes. Bhanu garu, మనం ఈరోజు టాపిక్ వచ్చేసి జనరల్ అబౌట్ ఇమిగ్రేషన్ లాస్. ఐ థింక్ మోస్ట్ అవైటెడ్ టాపిక్ ఫర్ మెనీ ఆఫ్ దెమ్. యా. సో మనం టాపిక్ లోకి వెళ్లే ముందు కెన్ యూ ప్లీజ్ షేర్ యువర్ పర్సనల్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అండ్ ఆల్సో యువర్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ డీటెయిల్స్.
Sure, madam. Thank you very much for asking me to come back to the show again, and thank you very much for that. Give me this opportunity. And I'm practicing immigration law for 17 years, ma'am. My office is located in Virginia, which is a Washington DC suburbs, and my firm name is BBA Law Group PC, and our website is www.bbalawgroup.com. Our office number is 703-496-7722. Our contact details are contact@bbalawgroup.com or crm@bbalawgroup.com. Or they can also reach me personally on my email ID also, which is bhanu@bbalawgroup.com. And we practice exclusively in immigration law. And I might have represented in several types of cases in immigration law. We do practice in, we present cases in business immigration law, family-based immigration, even EB-5 investor visas, and all of the types of visas like F-1 visas. Even if we provide assistance with the consular processing also. For example, if somebody has to go to the visa abroad at the consulates, we provide even those services also, basically. So we do, that's what we do. We do exclusively immigration law, basically.
Yes, Bhanu garu, we have one caller from Dallas, Shweta garu. Shweta garu, please go on.
Hello, hi sir. My name is Shweta from Dallas.
Yes, please go on.
Hello. Yeah. Actually, I'm holding on H1B. I have a query. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sir. Sir, actually, for my H1, my H1 has been approved in 2018 December. So, but unfortunately, after 2 years of approval, I received the intent to revoke. And then my employer has immediately filed for amendment, but it got approved within 5 days. So, does it affect my NOIR, or can I able to revoke the previous petition or something?
I cannot comment, ma'am, because I did not see your notice of intent to revoke. I don't know the details of your petition. It's very difficult for me to tell exactly what's going to happen in that case. If you want me to review your case and provide you proper advice, I would advise you to call our office and schedule an appointment so that I can really review your documents and everything. It's very difficult for me to tell whether it's going to impact your previous case for which NOIR has been issued or not. It's very difficult for me to tell. I don't even know what the reasons are, basically.
Yes, thanks for calling. And Bhanu garu, before we get into the topic, we have another caller from Pennsylvania, Karthika garu. Karthika, please go on.
Hi, thank you for your time. Actually, I am having my H1 right now. H1 is approved. Previously, I had my H1, which was max out on August 2020. So I completed my 6 years by August 2020. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my I-140 before August 2020. So my employer filed F1 for me. So I studied for 2 months. And by October 2020, I got my H1 approved. But my F1 was still in pending status only. Now I got RFE for my F1. They are asking me why civis got terminated, or do you want to withdraw your application? So do I need to withdraw my application? Suppose if I withdraw my application, what will happen for those 2 months which I was studied?
Okay. My question here is this, madam. Your H1B has been approved with the extension of status or to the consular processing? That means your H1B, did you get I-94 with your H1B?
I got my I-94.
Okay, if you got your I-94, then there's nothing much to worry, ma'am. Basically,
Okay.
okay. I think you are in H1B status right now. You can withdraw that F1. Basically, you are authorized to stay during the period while your F1 change of status application is pending. Therefore, it's okay to withdraw right now because you have an H1B status right now. You can withdraw that F1.
Right. Thanks for calling. And Bhanugaru, we have another caller from Hyderabad. Hari Krishna Garu, please go on.
Good morning, Panigaru. I have a
Good morning.
question regarding my H1B. So my file got picked up in 2018 for the 45 days validity. Now, and even I could not go for the stamping. Now the question is that, being it from India, so am I eligible to transfer my H1B to new company? And if that is possible, how it is possible? Because when I try to, most of the companies are not willing to take up my profile from India.
Yeah, I mean, for the last part, I don't know how to comment that. That's depending upon the employer's requirements to hire somebody in the company. So I really can't comment on that. But only thing I can comment is basically is that yes, the companies can file H1B petition for you, but it is actually a new petition that is not subject to the cap because you already have an H1B approved in the past basically for you. Okay. And if any company is willing to hire you, that company can file an H1B petition for you. And that H1B petition will approve for the consular processing. And then once it's approved, you should be able to go to the consulate, get visa stamped, and then come back. And if any company is not willing to take you, that is something which I cannot really comment on that, Andy. You know?
Yeah. Thanks for calling in. And we have another caller, Vinod from Georgia. Vinod, please go on.
Hi, I have a question. So my H1 got approved in October. So I left the project, but I came to other projects. So unfortunately, USCIS went and checked there. At the time I was in other project. Will that be an issue? But at the time I did not make change any amendment, file amendment.
Sir, it all depends upon where is your other project is located. Where was your initial project located? Whether do you really need to file an amendment or not? It all depends upon those factors. I can answer you. What are the issues you're going to face and everything. With the information what you provided to me right now, it's very difficult for me to tell what are the consequences will be and what likely what you need to do, what you cannot do, and everything. If you want to talk in private, I'm very happy to talk in private. You can actually schedule a call with your office, and then I'm very happy to talk to you in private. And
Yes, thanks for calling అండి భానుగారిని డైరెక్ట్ గా కాంటాక్ట్ చేయాలంటే మన కాంటాక్ట్ డీటెయిల్స్ అన్ని కూడా మనకి టీవీ పైన స్క్రీన్ పైన కనిపిస్తుంటే డెఫినెట్లీ మీరు కాంటాక్ట్ చేసి ప్రైవేట్ గా కన్సల్ట్ చేయొచ్చు. రైట్, థ్యాంక్స్ ఫర్ కాలింగ్. అండ్ భానుగారు, బిఫోర్ వి గెట్ ఇన్ టు ది టాపిక్, అండ్ మనకి ఈ వీక్ లో కొత్తగా న్యూ ఇమిగ్రేషన్ అప్డేట్స్ ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా?
కొత్తగా అప్డేట్స్ అంటూ ఏం లేవండి ఈ వీక్ లో. బట్ పాయింట్ ఇస్ వన్ గుడ్ థింగ్ ఇస్ బేసికలీ ఇస్ దట్ వి నో దట్ if it comes to the H1B lottery registration process, basically with the new guidelines, we know that wage level based lottery selection has been postponed to make it into effect. Basically, they delayed the implementation of those regulations till December 31, 2021. That is only one update which we have. So because of that, this year lottery for the registration for the lottery will be the same process what we followed previous year. That is the last year basically. So it is not based upon the wage levels, but based upon the random selection, basically how it's going to be and everything. Even wage levels also is random selection, but there are criteria set in how the random selection will happen in that. But right now in this, it's a basically random selection. So that's a one good thing. And we know that even they have given notification that registration will commence on March 9th, 2021 and ends on March 25, 2021. So it's almost 15 full days basically, and so that's the major update we have for this week, and not many other updates which are that relevant for the audience who are in this, who generally our audience for this show, basically because our audience are mainly from India and Indian origin audience basically. Yes. And therefore other updates are not that relevant for the Indian nationals basically. Yeah.
Right. Thanks for the info, Bhanugar. Let's jump into today's topic. So, what is immigration? What is the basic law that governs immigration?
ఇమిగ్రేషన్ అంటే వలసపోవడం అండి తెలుగులో, సింపుల్ గా చెప్పాలంటే,
Yeah.
and జనాలు, you obviously every human being, the human beings in historically, ది వాళ్ళు ఎందుకు వలసపోతారంటే వాళ్ళకి బెటర్ ఆపర్చునిటీ కోసం, బెటర్ లైఫ్ స్టైల్ కోసం, బెటర్ లైఫ్ కోసం బేసికలీ, రైట్? So in that way, every country will have its own immigration issues. Basically, India also see a lot of migration from its neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and everything. And the same way, US also will sees migration from all over the countries in the world, basically because it's the number one developed country in the world, and there is a possibility that it can give an opportunity for somebody to prove their abilities, uh, as per the skill, basically whatever they have, to show their ability and then make their living and everything in the US. So in that way, we also have, every countries have their own immigration laws, and the US basically immigration laws are basically governed under the statutes, laws passed by the Congress. Basically, there are several laws have been passed from the day one, basically, and now recently the latest law which has been really passed by the government, which is the basic statute, is Immigration Nationality Act 1990. Basically, 1990 is the Immigration Nationality Act is the basic statute. I mean, main statute which has been passed by the Congress, and after that there are a lot of other times other laws have been passed making changes to the INA and everything, but still the governance in the US, the basic immigration law is governed by the Immigration Nationality Act of 1990. Basically, it basically defines who can migrate into this country, who are eligible to get visas into this country, who can come into this country, who can actually work in this country, who cannot work in this country, and what is legal immigration, what is illegal immigration. It defines the basics. From there, we have different acts: 1996 Illegal Reformation Immigration Act. So many other things have been happened after that, but that is the basic law through which we basically all the immigration in the US is governed right now.
సో భాను గారు, ఇమిగ్రేషన్ గురించి తెలుసుకున్నాం. సో వి హర్డ్ లాట్ ఆఫ్ స్టోరీస్ అబౌట్ ఇల్లీగల్ ఇమిగ్రెంట్స్ అండ్ ఇల్లీగల్ ఇమిగ్రేషన్. సో వాట్ యాక్చువల్లీ ఇల్లీగల్ ఇమిగ్రేషన్?
Illegal immigration means people are entering into this country without any visa. Basically, that is one part. Second part is basically is that even if somebody enters with a visa into this country, they overstay in this country upon expiration of the duration which they are authorized to stay in this country. So there are two different types of illegal immigration can happen. One is basically is that people entering illegally into this country without a proper visa or with a fraudulent visas or anything like that to enter into this country by crossing the borders or somewhere other channels, basically not going through the proper inspection and everything, basically. And second thing is basically is that somebody comes into this country legally also, they may overstay their status. Basically, for example, if somebody comes on a B1, B2 visitor visa in this country, they're usually given authorization for 6 months, basically. But if they stay beyond 6 months without seeking any extension from the USCIS, then that's also illegal immigration, basically. That means they are unauthorized they're staying unauthorized in this country and are unlawfully in this country, and that's what it is, basically. And obviously, if you stay illegally in this country, then you will lose all the benefits in the future to seek any immigration benefits in this country, with few exceptions, basically. There are few exceptions, basically. Like, for example, if you are seeking an asylum or refugee status in this country, that's an exception which basically, if you stay illegally in this country, that is an exception. And for example, if you're qualify as an immediate relative, and if you don't have any other bars like committing any other crimes or anything like that, and if your immediate relative spouse or a child or a parent who's a US citizen, basically, the child means he has to be at least about 21 years of age, basically, right? If any one of you, basically, any one of them, basically, if they sponsor your green card, that is fine. But however, there's a bar for immediate relative with a green card also if the person enters illegally without any inspection into this country. Okay, the person must be lawfully entered into this country. If they enter lawfully into this country, and even if they violate status, if they qualify as a immediate relative, they may be able to adjust status in this country. There are several things. For example, if the children comes into this country, other exception is basically special immigrant juvenile status, basically SIJ applicants. That's what we call them for the children. Basically, if they qualify for that, if they don't have anybody, and if they have any custody of any person in this country, and if they go through the family courts custodial procedures before age of 14 years, basically, then we should be able to, I think, depending upon the state to state, some states up to 18 years, some states up to 14, some states up to 16, it's depending on state to state. It's called special immigration juvenile applicants basically, there is a possibility for them also to adjust status in this country. But usually people who come into this country without inspection at the border, or people who overstay in this country after expiration of their valid immigration status, that's basically illegal immigration.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a general question, but let me answer this. Who is permitted to enter the US from a foreign country?
People who have visas, basically people who obtain visas abroad at the consulates, they're allowed to come into this country, provided they have no other prohibitions to come into this country. Usually, people who come into this country are the people there are two types of immigrations, Sandy. Basically, one is non-immigrants, other one is immigrants. Basically, non-immigrants means they're coming to US only for temporary purposes, like either to work or to visit or anything like that. Basically, okay. Immigrants means they're coming to the US to stay permanently in the US, to form a home here, to form a residence over here, to work and everything. They want to stay permanently in this country. That means usually non-immigrants are the ones who come on a visas like F1 visa, H1B visa, O visa, L visa, etc., etc., etc. Immigrants are the ones who come on a green card or an asylum status or a refugee status or a diversity visa. Basically, these are the ones. They are immigrants basically because they're coming to US to establish the permanent this thing basically. So it all depends upon exactly what they want to do. Based upon that, they're able to apply for visas abroad, and they're able to come to US in the country and able to stay in this country based upon their needs and requirements. For example, somebody comes on H1B visa, it's a temporary visa. That means the individual usually gets the visa for 3 years. He'll be able to come to the US for 3 years and work for that employer for 3 years. And if he wants to work for a different employer, then different employer has to file an H1B petition for them. And that's usually we call H1B transfer. And that's how they're going to work basically. So usually the individuals, basically, those are the ones, workers, visitors, refugees, asylees, basically, and the family members of the US citizens, basically, already, or family member of the green card holders, already immigrants into this country. Those are the people usually will come into this country as immigrants or non-immigrants, basically.
Okay. So which family members can sponsor relatives for US immigrants visas that will grant them permanent entry?
Okay. US, there are different categories, basically. If it's a US citizens, basically, US citizens can sponsor to their children who are below 21 years of age and unmarried, okay, and their spouses and their parents as well, okay. Yeah. These are immediate relatives. That means there is no restrictions on the visa numbers per year quota or anything like that for them. They can be unlimited number of visas for them, okay. And second thing is US citizens can sponsor their brothers and sisters also, basically, okay, whether they're married or anything like that. They can also sponsor the children who are above 21 years of age and are also married also, basically, okay. Those are the categories which basically they can qualify, and other people who can sponsor green cards are basically is the green card holders also. Green card holders can sponsor for their spouses and for their unmarried children who are below 21 years of age, even unmarried children who are above 21 years of age also, basically. But if they get married, then they lose the benefit, basically. So those are the people who can sponsor green cards to their family members, basically, okay. But green card holders cannot sponsor to their parents or to their brothers or sisters. Only US citizens can do that, okay. And employers can also sponsor visas for their employees. Whoever they want to hire somebody, they can sponsor visas to their employees, and those employees can come and work for their employers in that position for which they're being offered, basically. So these are the few people who actually do that. Employers means it could be individual, it could be companies, or vice versa, basically, whatever you call it. That's the way it is, basically, So these are the people generally who can actually sponsor visas, basically.
So Bhanugaru, my next question is, how can a foreign national gain LPR status?
Foreign national can gain LPR status two ways, Andy. One is basically, as I said, there are three ways actually. One is through the employment, or second is through the sponsorship by a family member, basically who's a relative, either brother or sister, or a parent, or a spouse, or a child, basically. As I said, those are the people who can, through them, they can come into this country. And the third way coming into this country is, depending upon the country of origin where they are from, they have an option of seeking a diversity visa also, which is a lottery. And the other way is basically is that if they have a fear of persecution or fear of death in their home country, they can actually seek a refugee status or asylum status in the US, basically. So these are the ways people can come into the US, basically.
Deportable offenses, I mean, what are the consequences of deportation?
Deportation is it's actually now called removal proceedings. No more it's called deportation anymore. It's now called removal proceedings, basically. And people who are unlawfully present in the US, basically, or people are in violation of their status in the US, they're all removable from this country, basically. Okay. And in order to remove them, basically what happens is that Immigration and Customs Enforcement issues a notice to appear for them before the immigration judge, and they can make their claim before the immigration judge whether why they should not be removable from this country, basically. Okay. And if they can make their case, then obviously then the immigration judge can decide whether they're allowed to stay in this country or not, whether removal proceedings can be dismissed or not. They look into that. Otherwise, immigration judge may determine that they have to be removed. There are certain cases where ICE itself can remove somebody depending upon the situation, everything. They don't have to go through the immigration judge also. It all depends upon what kind of a case it is and everything, basically. Removal proceedings, as you said, what kind of an offenses are removal proceedings is if somebody commits a felony in the US, basically, and they are removable, basically, or also inadmissible also, basically. If they committed a felony anywhere in the country, outside the country, they're not admissible in this country. If they commit a felony in the US, they're removable from the US, basically. Okay? And if somebody commits a crime involving moral turpitude also, they're removable in this country. And also if somebody commits a drug offenses, basically, right? Like if they're basically handling or dealing with any drugs like marijuana or cocaine or anything like that, those are the people are basically those are felony, those are the crimes which basically constitute the felonies. They are removable from this. Even some drug offenses which are not felonies also, still they're removable from this country. So those are the things which you have to understand. If people who overstay in this country are also removable from this country, basically.
My question is, can a deportation order can be appealed upon?
Removal proceeding orders you're talking about? Yes, it can be appealed depending upon the situations and everything. It can be appealed. Yeah, it can be. We can seek for the reconsiderations and we can fight on that. Yes, it depends upon situation to situation, case to case. Not every case we can do that.
Yes. So what is naturalization and what is the eligibility to nationalize?
Naturalization is nothing but you gaining US citizenship, basically. Okay. And in order to gain US citizenship, there are certain processes which you have to go through. You have to remain a permanent resident, depending upon how you become a permanent resident, LPR, legal permanent resident in this country. And there is a certain duration which you have to stay as a legal permanent resident in this country to become naturalized, basically. If you got a green card through employment in this country, you have to wait for 5 years, basically. If you got a green card through immediate relative, like by your spouse or US citizen spouse or US citizen spouse, then you have to wait for 3 years. And all other categories also you have to wait for 5 years as a green card holder. And you need to establish that you have a good moral character. And also you establish that you maintained physical and permanent residence in this country at least for 30 months in that 5 years, then you will be eligible for the naturalization. Once you're eligible for the naturalization, you apply N400 application with the USCIS, and then you have to go through the interview process where you have to pass the English language and the civics test basically at the interview. And once you pass those things and if everything is fine, then the USCIS may basically grant you US citizenship. Basically, that's what this process is called, naturalization process, Andy.
Okay. So can we know what is the purpose of diversity lottery program?
Diversity lottery program is meant for to have the people from all the countries able to have an equal opportunity to come into this country, basically, from irrespective of what region they are from, what country they are from. They should be able to come into this country, basically. So usually diversity countries who are eligible for the diversity lottery are the countries who have a less migration to the US. The list changes every year. Department of State actually provides the list of the countries who are eligibility for diversity lottery every year, because they want to have a diversified migration to the US, not from only from certain particular country or one country or two countries to come into this country. Basically, people from all over the world should be able to come to US and make it their home and able to excel in whatever they can do for the betterment of the United States of America. So that's why diversity lottery has been established.
Yes, Bhanugaru. So finally, a golden immigration message to our US.
Golden immigration message for our viewers is, as I said, even in the past, right now, is pursue your American dream. Do not lose hope in pursuing your American dream. And America is probably one of the most advanced countries and also most welcoming countries in the world. And if you have a talent, if you have an opportunity, you want to prove yourself, you should pursue your American dream. And that's all I can say, basically. Especially now with the current administration, we have more hopeful that there will be more proper immigration reforms will happen, so that people will get more opportunities to prove their skills, basically, and also prove their ability to the America, and then give and able to take the advantage of their pursuing their American dream, basically. So that's my golden mission. Still keep dreaming, keep pursuing, and if you have any ambition to come to US, you should pursue. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Bhanugaru. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time here. Thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much for the entire Sakshi family for joining, for inviting me all every week, and thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Right. Thank you, Bhanugaru. Right. చూసారు కదా, ఇది వాటి స్పెషల్ ఇమిగ్రేషన్ షో. మరో షోతో మళ్ళీ కలుసుకుందాం. అంతవరకు చూస్తూనే ఉండండి సాక్షి, తెలుగు ప్రజల మనస్సాక్షి. నమస్తే.
Thank you.